for someone like you who's worked on so many albums, like I'd love to contrast like two albums. I don't know if this is too hard for you to like think of off the cuff, but like, you know, two albums that you've been a part of that were just so drastically different in their like creative processes, right? Because I'm assuming there's some parallels and some similarities amongst how albums are made, right? Like there's some playbooks, maybe, I don't know, like some blueprints, if you will, but there's probably some like extremes of like, oh man, the way that we made this OutKast album versus the way that like this Usher record, you know, came about. Like, is there any two that really stick out in your head as like polar opposites on how they were, like how they came to life?
I would say, okay, like Earthgang. Yeah. Okay, so here's a good one, right? Earthgang, who people compare to a Dungeon Family act, or you know, there's a similarity in it, right?
How do you feel about that?
No, I think they're of the generation after us, and they have traits that hopefully we laid in the, you know, in the DNA of the music in Atlanta. Yeah. Like, so I hope that there's some thread, right? But
yeah, I would hope it wouldn't just die with like when people are comparing them and feeling like some type of way about it, I'm like, why would we not want like some sort of resurgence of that like feeling and that aesthetic? And
well, what it is I think that, again, like we're all from the same city. Yeah. Like, so that DNA is in the city. They're totally different though. Like, whereas OutKast, we had a core group of producers that did everything, that helped with the writing, helped, you know, like with hooks and melody and just direction. Earthgang was more, they understood who they are as artists, but they weren't necessarily dead set on a group of producers. So we worked with more than, you know, we worked with multiple people. And the hardest part on that was just trying to get things that were cohesive, but it's the same goal, same vibe, but it's totally different because you get to, you know, we traveled more, we went to different studios, we dealt with different producers, different musicians, got more information, you know, more things to put into the pot of the gumbo.
Well, so were there more records to choose from at the end of the day?
No, it's just, it was harder to figure out in the beginning what the through line was going to be, because they had been working way before I got there. Because I, like Barry said, it's like, I want you to Rick Rubin this shit. Whereas you come in and listen to what's there, not necessarily reduce, but refine. Yeah. So it's like, just figure out what are the things that stick out to you as a person coming in from the outside, and what are the things that are that you know that you would showcase more. So I came in from that side of it as an executive producer, right? So, and because of my history with not just OutKast, but with other successful artists, it was like the same question, like, what's the thing that's cool about them? And we had to focus on their voices and the differences in their voices and the differences in their opinions, the differences in their styles. So I could take that idea from OutKast of, you know, two polar opposites that sound like one thing, and take that over here, but I couldn't do it in a way where it was one producer who was, you know, or one producer camp doing it. It's just, I don't know, it's different. I can't, I don't know, it's so many differences that it's weird.
No, I think I understand that piece, because it's actually a perfect, because I was going to talk about the comparison that Earthgang always gets to OutKast anyways. Yeah. So it's actually kind of perfect that you like used that as the example of like having worked on a lot of OutKast, you know, projects, and then obviously most recently doing the Ghetto Gods by Earthgang. So it does sound like there's got to be pros and cons to the multiple producers versus the camp, right?
Absolutely. Like, it's so much easier when you have when it's a camp, what's in camp, you know, music, because it's like the conversations are easier and better. Like, everything's kind of out and open. It's like friends talking, and you can get to take all these conversations and put them into the music. Like, you can hear somebody walking through the room going, "Ain't no thing but a chicken. Hey, come say that." Like, you know what I mean? It's different in that way.
No one's saying that in the curated session that was set up in LA with random, or not random, but like producer, you know, XYZ.
But that's what makes it hard. Trying to find those producers who aren't going to feel random.
Yeah.
Who aren't going to come in with a totally different energy that off-puts the artist or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if you're around for the actual recording process of any of that, but I am curious how Earthgang, like, just in an age now where, you know, people are freestyling and punching in and just kind of coming up with shit, you know, is because I feel like OutKast was, you know, they were either they or, you know, the producers, to your point, writers, whoever was probably, you know, people back then took more time.
Every verse that was ever said.
Everything written down was ready to go, right? Yeah. Is that different now?
No, I mean, with Earthgang, they had a lot of stuff done. And by the way, we went in and redid verses, you know, took verses off, changed them. Like,
pay attention to that, by the way, everybody. Yeah. Like, so your first take is probably not the one.
Well, or if it is, you'll know.
Right.
Because the room will, like, we did a lot of cool shit, like having people in the studio. Like, we would make sure they were in with producers. And even bringing other people into the studio just to hang, like, good energy people in the room. And you see when it's right. Like, the room moves different. Yeah, like, it's when you say it and you got to tell somebody why it was dope.
It's not dope.
It's not dope. You should probably.
So you're a big advocate of having people in studio sessions? Because some artists like
people.
Some artists like to work by themselves. Just give me the engineer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I can see why.
I don't know why. I don't know a lot of really, really great records that came out that way. Like,
and I don't understand.
And by the way, someone, and I'm sure there are. I know there are.
Sure,
some.
But you're missing out on the data that you get by the reactions from the people, and just coming from a DJ A&R, it makes perfect sense.